Hey folks, this is Kelani. Over the last few months, classes have shifted around quite a lot. Some abilities were removed, others were put back in, but there's always been some little surprise waiting just around the corner in the weekly builds. But now we're basically there, hovering just before the finish line, that is, Battle for Azeroth launching for real. So fingers crossed that most of the classes have settled down at this point. We shouldn't see any more major changes. So let's go ahead and have a little look-see at what abilities are returning in Battle for Azeroth. Quite a few of these abilities have been missing for a few expansions now, so it's nice to see them return as we embark on our newest adventure. It's also nice to see the abilities are spread out pretty evenly throughout the classes. It's not like one class has half of the returning abilities, which leaves half the classes without anything shiny. So let's go through each class and see what abilities are returning to their spellbooks for BFA. If your class doesn't appear, I'm afraid there's nothing to talk about. Death Knight should hopefully be a little happy because Death's Advance is making its way back to the table. Death's Advance had been a passive bonus to movement speed in the past, as well as an active ability which prevented you from being slowed. In Battle for Azeroth, it will provide you with a 30% increased movement speed for 8 seconds on a 45-second cooldown, while also preventing you from being slowed and making you immune to knockbacks. Wraithwalk is no longer baseline, but it has moved to the talent section, so you can have 2 movement abilities if you so wish. 30% movement speed isn't the largest boost in the world, but at least it's something, and it is on a very short 45-second cooldown, meaning you should be able to fit that in every pack, depending on how quickly you're moving through a dungeon. Druids are getting a few utility abilities back. The first is Hibernate, a simple long-duration crowd control which only works on beasts and dragonkin, but you can once again put some beasties to sleep so your group can sneak past unnoticed. The other ability is Soothe, which dispels all enrage effects on your target. We haven't seen many enrage effects floating around, but maybe you'll end up getting some good use out of this ability in some Battle for Azeroth content. Not much else to say on the Druid front, I'm afraid. Not a great deal has changed either. One thing the dev team definitely seems keen on doing is dishing out the removal effects to various classes, but making sure that they're well spread out. If you want to dispel enrage, you have to bring specific classes, like a Druid. If you want to dispel something else, you're probably going to have to look at a different class. Hunters are getting a lot of changes, and most of it doesn't really revolve around getting old abilities back, but marksmanship will see the return of Steady Shot. Legion changed all hunter specs significantly, and while both Beast Mastery and Survival are ploughing ahead with those changes, it looks like marksmanship is moving back a step or two, which I actually love. Instead of spamming an instant cast ability to regen your focus, Steady Shot gives you a short duration cast, which can be used while moving, to help the lifespan of your keyboard and bring a little bit of flow back to the spec. It's probably the only thing keeping me interested in my hunter right now, as well as the other changes to marksmanship like aimed shot and arcane shot going back to similar ways to what they were previously. Mages are kind of the opposite, they're not really changing much at all, at least Frost and Fire aren't. Arcane is seeing a few more changes, but nothing which really breaks the good old Arcane Spam Blast. Mages will still receive a returning ability though, something we haven't seen in quite a while, Arcane Intellect. Group and raid buffs are back, though it's only a select few. Arcane Intellect just happens to be one of them, so make sure you have that glorious blue icon in your list of buffs if you have a mage in your party. They might need a reminder now and then. Monks seem to be in an interesting place going into Battle for Azeroth. Brewmasters are remaining very similar, and so are Windwalkers, but Mistweavers will be changing their playstyle once again, but you might prefer this switch. Soothing Mist is making a return, which seems to have a lot of Mistweavers very happy. Soothing Mist really brings back a lot of Mistweaver flavor. Instead of them having to hardcast everything like the other classes, Soothing Mist allows you to channel your healing energies while casting other spells. Now, while it's not really a returning ability, it's also worth mentioning that all monks will be able to make use of Leg Sweep without having to talent into it, a very important detail if you're wanting to make good use of all your abilities in dungeons and raids. Priests will also be joining the very exclusive club of classes which can provide a raid-wide buff. You probably know what it is before I say anything, but yes, Power Word Fortitude is also making a comeback to increase your party's stamina. Once again, if you're missing the buff, maybe give your priest a quick poke. We haven't had these buffs in a long time, people might have forgotten how often you need to buff everyone. Shadow Priests will also see the return of Mindseer. It wasn't missing for very long, but it's definitely something to celebrate. You can actually choose when to AoE again. How glorious. And while it's not really a returning ability, it didn't go anywhere, but its functionality is being changed quite significantly. Power Word Shield for Discipline Priests no longer has a cooldown and doesn't apply Weakened Soul. That's a pretty huge deal for a variety of reasons that we won't get into in this video. Just know that Power Word Shield is returning to some of its former glory. I think it might end up being even more powerful with Weakened Soul being removed. Disc Priests are shaping up to be really great at this rate. Paladins don't have much to talk about, and while I really don't like adding talents into this discussion, because a lot of old abilities typically end up as talents because that's the easiest place to just slot them in without really thinking about it and working out all the kinks, Retribution Paladins will see the return of Inquisition. Obviously, with it being a talent, you'd have to actively choose to participate in the Inquisition, but it's a very powerful buff which is currently contending with the power of Crusade, and it seems like it's going to be a great talent to run with. I hope you all have your weak auras ready. Not much else to report, I'm afraid. Blessings are still limited to just one player, so no raid-wide buffs for the poor paladins. Shamans are getting one of their beloved totems back. I swear Blizzard is just storing them away in a back room somewhere, dishing them out slowly to distract the shamans from the greater problems. But Tremor Totem will be rejoining your spellbook as a way to remove fear, charm and sleep effects from your entire raid for 10 seconds. I can't help but feel that the dev team giving us back way more ways to remove crowd control, enrages and other spell effects just screams that we're going to see so much more of that kind of stuff in dungeons and raids. I'm really excited to see what obstacles lie in wait for us. In a similar vein to Leg Sweep, this next totem isn't really returning. It was always available as a talent, but its name has changed and it's now baseline for all shamans. Capacitor Totem gives you an AoE stun, which is again going to be amazing in all forms of content. While we're on the topic of AoE stuns, there is one more AoE stun that's sort of coming back, and it belongs to Warlocks. Shadow Fury was again a talent previously, but is now available to all Warlocks in their baseline kit. You guys just need to make sure you're using these AoE stuns. They're not as common as they were before, and they're so incredibly useful, especially when you start getting into higher Mythic Plus keys. Please, 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 at least make sure they're on your bars. Our last returning ability belongs to our final class, the Warriors. Where would we be without our attack power raid buff? That's where Battle Shout comes into play. So we have a total of 3 raid buffs, 1 from mages, 1 from priests, and the final one from warriors. Just make sure your resident buffers are actually buffing. It would be a terrible shame if you find out at the end of a Mythic Plus dungeon, or at the end of a boss you just struggle to kill, that you are missing a pretty significant buff. Buffs are important, guys. Now, Warriors do have something else sort of returning, but it's not really returning from a previous expansion, more like from an earlier alpha build. Ignore Pain was changed, gutted, and finally removed, leaving Protection Warriors on the edge of their seats wondering what would end up replacing it. Well, it was sort of replaced by itself. Ignore Pain returned semi-recently and seems to be working relatively well for the Warriors still running around with a shield, so don't worry, it's not going anywhere. Yet. And that's all of the returning abilities, and a few key abilities with interesting changes, coming back in Battle for Azeroth. I'm kind of surprised. I actually expected to find more abilities that were being returned. I know other raid buffs like Mark of the Wild were initially introduced, but quite a few things which you'll hear at the start of the alpha have since been removed or reworked, so I guess that's why we only have a few abilities left to look at. As I say, we're so close now that I doubt any of this will end up changing, but who knows, Blizzard could just throw the kitchen sink out of the window and who knows how many abilities with it. Hopefully that doesn't happen and all of this remains true by the time mid-August rolls around. People are expecting pre-patch to hit sometime in mid-July too, so we're getting super duper close. Now before we leave, I want to congratulate our winners from the previous giveaway. Good job picking up all of your keys, guys, much appreciated. That means we can roll on to our final giveaway. This one's going to be a bit special because I do have some extra keys from the wonderful folks over at Blizzard, so I'll use up the rest of my keys on this giveaway. We're getting too close to the beta ending and it launching for real, so I really don't see any point in holding on to them much longer. It's super easy to enter the giveaway. All I need from you is a comment below telling me which class or faction you're going to play in Battle for Azeroth and why. Do you like the look of the Horde areas better, or is the whole nautical theme of the Alliance really calling to you? Are you sticking with your current class or hopping over to something a little different? Remember to include the hashtag BetaKey5. If you don't have the hashtag, your comment won't be entered into the draw, so be sure to include that. The giveaway will run for 48 hours and the winners will be selected randomly, so good luck to everyone who enters. If you want to make things super easy for me, and so you can get your key as quickly as possible, providing a Twitter handle or a Discord name makes things so much smoother. Good luck to everyone who enters, and once again this will be the final giveaway. But that's all for this video. I hope you enjoyed our preview of returning abilities in Battle for Azeroth. A big thank you to all of our supporters over on Patreon. If you want to hop on that train, you can find a link in the description below. Remember to leave a like just below the video before you leave, and if you want to see more, make sure to subscribe. But apart from that, thanks for watching folks, good luck and have fun, and as always I will see you next time.